Hi, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to our kickoff webinar for 22-23. My name is David Alman and I am the CTE TEACH program coordinator out of Colton-Redlands-Yucaipa ROP this year. And James, if you would bring up the slide deck, and I know there'll be others joining. If you haven't already, if you could put your name and your organization in the chat, but I think we might be all good there and caught up. James will also be putting a link to today's presentation. Thank you very much, James. And if you want to go to the next slide. Just some few quick meeting norms. If you could just stay on mute when you're not speaking, we'd appreciate it. Use the chat feature to communicate with any of us, and James will be moderating the chat, and Megan will be keeping an eye on it as well too. And just be mindful of your environment, what's behind you, your audio settings and surroundings. And at the bottom, there is a bit.ly, and that is a link to today's webinar. If you want to bring that up and follow along, don't have to. We will also be sending this out after today's webinar with a recording as well too. Next slide, James. If I could quickly introduce you to everyone here at Colton-Redlands-Yucaipa ROP and all of us here on the CTE TEACH team. Melissa.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Melissa Dix. I'm the project administrator for CTE TEACH. I'm also the director of education services here at CRY-ROP, and I've been part of CTE TEACH now, I think, since about 2016.
Megan. You're muted.
That's why we have those mugs. I am Megan Guillermo, Program Support Specialist for CTE TEACH, and I've been working with the Colton-Redlands-Yucaipa ROP for a number of years now, and with CTE TEACH for about 2 years now.
James.
Hi, everyone. My name is James Hattar. I am the teacher on assignment for CTE TEACH and the Colton-Redlands-Yucaipa ROP. Basically doing a lot of tech work behind the scenes with the Canvas modules, and any help that you might need with Canvas or any of the modules at all, please reach out to me, and I'm your guy. Thank you.
And again, my name is David Alman. I am the program coordinator for CTE TEACH, and I've been with CRY-ROP for 9 years. James, next slide.
Yes, I'm putting back the link to the slides, so it's in the chat. Just go ahead and copy that bit.ly link, and you'll have access to the slides as we go along.
Thank you, James. So, in the spirit of Halloween just ending yesterday, quick question for you to put in chat. What's your favorite Halloween candy you would take from someone's trick-or-treat bag? What are you noshing for right now? What are you jonesing for at the end of the day to make it through this last 45 minutes, hour? I actually wanted to put a couple. I could have filled it with at least 4, but I let everybody else put something on there too.
Peanut butter is a popular one.
They're coming in fast, yeah. Junior mints, those are good too.
Yeah, Christy, we might have some chocolate mint around here for you.
I guess I'm the only freak of the family. I mentioned in the AM session that I'm the only one that's having black licorice. So any black licorice fans, shout out.
Robin, they won't miss it. We did a event here yesterday, and someone did a candy corn jello. There you go, James. Christy likes the black licorice too.
She's awesome.
And the kids won't mind if you take that, James. You'll be okay.
I did think this afternoon, I was like, oh, we could have done a second question. What would you put back in the bag?
If you want to scare the kids, just have them not come to the house. Just say, just have nothing but black licorice.
Well, that was some of the best stuff, was trading the stuff you got and just checking out the haul. James, go ahead to the next slide. And we'll move on from October to November and talk about CTE TEACH. And CRY-ROP has been involved with CTE TEACH since 2009. So as Melissa said this morning, we're into the teenage years. And in partnership with CTE, the California Department of Education, we've offered CTE TEACH as a way to mentor, support, and mentor support and professional development for CTE mentors and teachers. We all know the importance of having a mentor, supporting our new teachers as they enter the classroom, come out of industry, and it just really strengthens the partnership and the opportunity and the development of each other. So it's a developmental program for LEAs designed to provide CTE mentors resources for supporting those first and second year teachers. Next slide, James. And what you'll hear and you'll realize today is that there are some people who are returning LEAs that have been part of the program before, and there's also new LEAs participating for the first time. So we appreciate both of them. Cornerstones of CTE Teach, and these are similar to some of the goals that we'll also see on the next slide. We want to increase teacher retention. We want teachers to feel supported as they enter the classroom and that they're not ready to leave after a day, a week, a month, a year, anything like that. We want them to stay in the organization. And so we want to improve and provide teacher training and support. This leads to two things: greater teacher effectiveness, and it promotes student learning, which is the most important thing because the students have to be engaged and participating. Next slide, James. So some of the goals of CTE Teach, just like the first cornerstone, to increase CTE teacher retention, to address the unique needs of CTE teachers. We know there are some differences between core classes and CTE. I know I myself, the first year I was in the classroom, I felt like I was in a silo or an igloo. I was the only person teaching my courses on my campus. So how was I going to feel supported in doing so? Have a fully qualified and fully satisfied CTE teacher in every CTE classroom. And I'm sure we've all felt challenges bringing new people on this year. We want every LEA with CTE to have an induction program for CTE teachers. It's one thing we do really well, and we feel it's important for others. And then for CTE Teach practices to be implemented statewide for CTE teachers transitioning from industry into education. Next slide, James. And I'm going to throw it over to Melissa, who's going to talk about mentor responsibilities and then administrator responsibilities.
All right, thanks, David. Good afternoon again, everyone. So a lot of this that we're going to go over on the next two slides is actually found in your MOU. And as David said, we've received a lot of those already. So thank you for getting those in. And I encourage, although we don't require mentor signatures on those, the administrators, you share those with your mentors so they are aware of their tasks and duties for the year. So each of our mentors is offered 150 hours a year, not to exceed 150 hours for the school year. We're getting started a little late this year, right? We're not the only, our districts aren't the only ones facing some staff shortages and things that's happening even up at the Capitol. So we just got a later start this year than we were hoping for, but that means you still get the same amount of hours, which we were really grateful to still have our same full funding. So today is not just the kickoff for us meeting you and you guys getting to know each other, but it's also the kickoff for starting to earn your hours. That is with one caveat, as if we do not have a signed document yet from you with a date signed today or a little sooner possibly, you cannot start accruing those hours until we have a superintendent or whoever your signer is on that form. So if you're still waiting for board approval and things, again, the date has to align with today or after to start accruing those hours. You cannot, any of you old veterans that already kind of know how this works, we also cannot start accruing those hours prior to today, just to keep everybody on that same page. So within those mentor responsibilities, we're going to go through that on this slide. Biggest thing, most important thing is that one-on-one support. So that is in person, hopefully, as much as possible. It's phone calls, it's that in-person / Zoom or WebEx or whatever you might use, Teams and things like that. Maybe it's FaceTime because you all have iPhones, but it's really that important one-on-one support for teachers. They need that kind of call, their mentor crisis hotline, right? To get, am I doing this right? Or I'm having a bad day, talk me off that cliff, right? So that's super important. So a lot of your time that you'll be logging is on those types of things. And sometimes even if it's just a kind of a note of encouragement every couple of days or so. Next is you're the resource provider. So showing what you know, right? And teachers, it's all about for us beg, borrowing, and stealing, right? So you are the ones that's letting them borrow and steal all of the great tools that you've used in your classrooms, whether it's industry specific or not. And then also connecting them with other teachers and folks that might be able to support them. So maybe you have a new auto teacher and that's not your expertise, but you can connect them with other auto teachers around, and then you can provide that mentorship of what makes good instruction and how to help them with classroom engagement and assessment strategies, and how to really understand at the end that the students know what the teacher's been trying to teach them for the last week or the last unit or whatever it may be. So really that one-on-one, those trainings, quarterly trainings, it is in the MOU that you provide at least 3 training workshops for your mentees throughout the year. Again, we've got 3 quarters left, so ideally it would be 1 per quarter depending on school schedules and things. And these are workshops that you yourselves or your mentor team put on for your teachers. It's not one that your district's already doing. It's not one that somebody else is providing. It's a workshop that you're going to put on based on maybe some things you learned from us here or in our PD modules, or it's a need that your teachers have. Whether it's things they've asked for or things you've noticed through your observations and visits, or your management team has asked you to provide some different trainings, whether that might be some tech integration or back to basics with lesson planning and things. Again, throughout our webinars this year, we're going to have lots of tools and support for you to help guide you through those, and even, again, steal some of our ideas and even our slide decks and things. But we want to make sure that that is training that you're doing, that that you're providing, and they're your direct audience. For program attendance, for the things that we do, like those webinars I mentioned, it is required that you, as the mentors, attend at least 5 of those webinars. Today is number 1, so you only have 4 others you need to attend this year, although we will do a total of 7. So there'll still be at least 6 more webinars coming your way this year. So you've got some flexibility if you're working around vacation times and maybe holiday schedules and things like that to still hit the 5 webinar requirement. We also will have an end of the year advisory. That's usually happens in May, where we ask everyone to come together and share, what worked, what didn't, share your successes, share your maybe thoughts on things we could offer next year. And then very importantly, coming up next after this webinar is the team will be scheduling with you what we call our site visits. So some of you that are more local to SoCal, we might be able to do some of those in person, which we're hoping for. Those of you that are more central and northern, we will definitely be scheduling those virtually, but we want to meet your specific team in a more intimate setting to be able to address any questions, concerns, challenges that you think you're going to face this year or you already have had as you get started. We'll be looking at, again, kind of one-on-one more with the logs and some of those accountability pieces. So those site visits, look for some emails and stuff coming out soon to get those scheduled with your team. And for that one, we do ask for the administrator and all the mentors to attend at the same time. So we've got to work around schedules and things there. As far as your tasks, one of the first tasks we ask you all to do, and if you haven't before, is to participate in our mentor training modules. So there's a series of modules on our CTE TEACH website that James is going to take us over to. Again, if you've already done this through the old CTE Online website, you do not have to redo this. We have records of that. But if you are new to us this year, we do ask that you participate and complete those webinars by the end of December. So you've got some holiday times and things coming up. So hopefully you should have the time to get those done. Those are, again, tools to help you start connecting with your mentees, doing things like providing non-evaluative feedback, putting on workshops, talking about all the different things a new teacher needs to know as they enter and make it through their first year in the classroom or first 2 years, depending on how your program works.
And Melissa, we had 2 questions in the chat.
Sure.
One is from Christy. Last year, we were able to submit hours we did earlier in the year. Are we able to backdate again?
This year, it starts today. Sorry about that.
And another one was from Jim. Can you address again who we need to check with to see if we are approved and can start tracking hours?
So you need to check with whoever your administrator is over this project with us, and they can let you know when that MOU was signed. And as the guys said, they've already been receiving quite a few of them signed. One of the things James is going to show you in just a couple of minutes is a Google Drive folder. that each of you will have for your site or district. A signed copy of that MOU will be put in there once we get all of ours board approved from our board as well. So there will eventually be a signed copy of that document in that folder. But right now I would say check with your administrator to see if it's been signed or if they might be waiting for the next board meeting, which is a possibility. Also, one thing I failed to mention this morning, but I know some of you, your board or your fiscal office or your superintendent, whoever might be the top dog in your organization, may want a wet signature on that contract. So if for any reason you need us to send you a copy of the original, you'll want to mail us a couple copies, 2 or 3, depending on your needs. So we got to keep a signature, but if you guys need one too, you would want to just send us a couple blanks with just your, again, director or superintendent signature. Even better if you send us a self-addressed envelope and we can get you those hard copies with the wet signatures back.
And Jenny's asking a question, and James and Melissa, you're going to hit it here in a second as you show the modules. Just curious if the CTE modules are the same as the modules new teachers are completing in the credential program.
So they are
Here we
different
come.
modules. Yes, they are different modules, but they're all housed in the same spot. So James, go ahead and let's just go straight to the modules there.
Okay, so I put the link to our CTE Teach website. Actually, Jim is asking what SIS tools does everyone use? Here at SVCTE, we use Canvas. We're using Canvas for the portals that we're using, Jim, as well. So when you go into, the thing is with Canvas, though, just to let you know, if you have a Canvas account with one system, you also would have to sign up for the other. So it means you may have multiple passwords and logins, just to let you know. So on CTE Teach, on our website, if you go to online modules, we have mentor programs and our media and so on. We have, if we go into online modules, we have the early orientation modules, our mentor modules, and the different chapters that each one goes through, and our professional development modules. A lot of this, some of the new teachers are taking in the early orientation. Part of the thing that I've been doing during the summer is updating a lot of the content, fixing broken links, putting in newer videos, putting in better resources and so on. If there's something that you think is missing or something that is not working, please let me know. I'll fix that ASAP. So that's something that I'm continuously working on. And as you go into here, this gray box on the top, you're going to go ahead, access CTE Teach course catalog, and you'll see everything that's listed here. And so, for example, if we're looking at mentor module, you just click on that. You can enroll, and it's a fairly simple process. Just your full name, email, confirm the email, and go ahead and say that you're not a robot and you agree to the privacy policy and use policy. Once you do that, you just need to do that one time. You'll get an email to create your own password, and then you'll have access to all the modules. Anything else that you're interested in, if I go back one, let's say you're interested in looking at accessing student learning. All you have to do is just enroll. Once you already have your login and password, you're already good to go. So you can go ahead and sign up or enroll into multiple modules, as you can see here. And again, I'm updating a lot of these. So you'll notice some new content and some new resources. And instead of necessarily taking you to a website away from the Canvas portal, you can download a lot of this content. So this way you can have that stuff directly for your computer as well. Kristen is also using Canvas. Yes. Okay, awesome. Any questions on Canvas? Anything that you want me to hit, Melissa? I think I've hit pretty much most of that.
Yeah, can you go back to the page with all the list of offerings?
Yes.
So as somebody mentioned, is this the same thing as new teachers go through? And yes, it's all part of the package that we provide here at CTE Teach. So the early orientation modules, those first 6, those represent the early orientation requirement that all CTE teachers need to complete within the first 30 days of teaching. So these 6 modules have been CTC, the Credentialing Commission, approved to satisfy that requirement. And we also work with about 9 credentialing LEAs throughout the state that use this as kind of their online textbook and assessment for that early orientation requirement as well for their courses. Beyond that, those 6 units can be used as a standalone. So if you're working with a teacher and maybe it's their 2nd year, but they still just aren't doing a great job with assessment or kind of keeping things organized, or there's some safety issues or whatever it may be, you can send them directly to a specific module. There is no, it used to be in the old model when this was in CT Online, like you could only go to module 2 and you couldn't go to module 3 if you didn't do module 2. Now there is none of that. So if you just need to send someone directly to some content, they can go into module 3 and skip right to chapter 4, right? There is still the ability though, once you complete a module, there is a small little kind of checking for understanding assessment. You complete that assessment with 100%, and then the Canvas does issue you a certificate. So this is great, not only for the early orientation proof and for you guys for our mentor module proof. So this is one document that you'll want to upload into your Google folder we'll share with you in just a moment. But it's also good for professional development. So if you notice beyond the mentor modules that you guys are going to start completing, there are other professional development modules, everything from working with middle school and adult learners to teaching in an online environment. Who would have thunk when we built that at about 2017 or so that we would have gone full online 2 years later. We also have things for any teacher, not just new teachers, right? Or also for administrators, like creating an externship program for teachers, like doing job shadows and things for educators. We have a basic CTE foundations, which is really good for those traditional subject teachers to learn what makes CTE a little different and special. And then this year we'll be adding a module. So when we meet again this time next year, you'll also see a CTE Admin 101. So knowing that we get a lot of general education folks into CTE administration, we know again what makes us different, what makes us special, what makes our work different and sometimes harder, right? We want to provide information for new CTE administrators. So with that, this year, we're also doing some presentations at the different conferences and things on some of that as well, as to kind of kickstart and get everybody ready for that module coming through. But again, the mentor modules is kind of your guys' focus for now. If you had never done them before through the old CT Online portal, we do ask you to complete those 15 chapters by the end of December, and you will submit that certificate to the Google folder that James will show you here in just a minute.
Okay. Oh, just to let you know, this is something that I've gotten quite a few emails on. I've noticed that quite a few teachers and some admin were telling me that they couldn't access Canvas, especially with one of the modules on their phone or their tablet. And after much looking at some information and doing some troubleshooting, turns out that you cannot be logged into the same Canvas portal on multiple devices as a Canvas student. So if, for example, you're still logged into your PC version of Canvas in your account, you can't use the app on your phone or your tablet because it still thinks you're logged into your PC and so on. So that's just a little information that I found out during the week, just to let you know. Some people may not be aware. So you learn something new every day.
Didn't know that, James. Thank you.
Yes.
Like we said with the certificates, it's really nice. So I was talking to any administrators in the room. If you have, as part of even your PD that you provide your staff for the year, if you've got some requirements for PD hours and things, the fact that these do issue certificates would be a great option, kind of another menu of PD opportunities for your staff to participate in as well. And then you guys as mentors can also use that same content to help build workshops and things like that, or do some one-on-one supports with your mentees. All right, I think we're skipping ahead a little bit, James, but since we're already on a different screen, let's go ahead and share that.
Okay, so the next part I was going to show is access to the Google Doc or the Google folder. So one of the things that we asked was, what is your Google or Gmail address? So once we have that, what we're going to do is allow you to have access to the folder based off of your district. And with that, we will have access to a copy of the MOU and an example of, in this case, I'll show you here, to the mentor activity log. And here is where you would just type in information, your name, district information, say CCC school or district, the quarter that you're filling this out for, in this case, November 1st to December 31st. And then the date for the activity and what is that activity, CTE TEACH PD, for example, the name of the person that participated, and then example of a description of what it was. CTE TEACH webinar, of course, a little more information than that. And then how many hours did you spend? And then you would continue. And this is going to be a living document. So this way, in that Google file, you can go ahead and start inputting things as you're going along. And it'll calculate everything at the very bottom for you as well. So this way, if there's any issues, we can see it live and then contact you to see if we can correct that. And basically, it'll just stay there. The nice thing about this, you can also download a hard copy if you'd like, or you can upload things as well. And again, we will only allow this access to those who have provided us with their Gmail or Google address. And I'm assuming that a lot of the people that went ahead and registered today or during the week went ahead and put in their Google accounts. So basically, once we have all that, within the week or so, give me a couple of days, we'll start giving everybody access to their specific folder. Anything I'm missing, Melissa?
No, so just answering a quick question, going back
Sure.
a step. Yes, mentors, if you're brand new to us, you do have until the end of December to complete the mentor modules. That way you can not have to worry about it. So we'd love it for you to get started now, but you have some of the break time and things to get this done, because we, much rather you spend time starting to connect with your mentees and then have some of that vacation time to complete the modules if that works best for your schedules and things, especially those of you still teaching in the classroom. So one of the things on this log, and so each mentor will have a log per quarter. So that way it's very clean for the, because we do ask that you track your own time and how you're using it, but also that the administrators, they'll have access to this as well, your site administrators, so they can make sure that the grant requirements are being fulfilled. So things like, have you done your 2 observations per mentee each year? Have you completed the mentor modules? Those are all things you can track on this. Have you attended the webinar, your 5 webinars, or if you didn't attend any for the first 2 months, are you catching up and you've attended the last 2 that have fallen in this new quarter? So we do ask the administrators to keep an eye on this. And then if you notice on the top, we do have a submitted on date. We would like you to not fill that out until you know that your log is great for quarter 2. So quarter 2 is the months of November and December. So when you're ready to sign off for the holidays, go ahead and put that maybe December 20th date on there. And then we know as a team that we can then go in and start going through your log to address any questions, concerns, and things we have. And then everybody's ready to prepare for the next quarter. So James is going to put a clean copy of this for each mentor, each quarter in your file. But also, if you beat us to the punch, in with Google Docs, you can always go file, make a copy, and start fresh. But just make sure you are using your own, which is really important to get that name on there, even though it's in your folder, just so your fellow mentors, if you have more than yourself in your district, you're not kind of trying to share a log, because we definitely don't want that to happen. When we do the one-on-one, the site visits with you, we'll go into these logs in more detail, talk a little bit more specifically about things to log, things not to log. For now, we do ask that you refer to the MOU and look at the tasks as we've been going through. So James, then we'll take that back to our slide deck then.
I have a question here from Jim. When will we get access to the Canvas mentor modules? I believe you can do that right now. So right on that CTE Teach website, you should be able to see that information. If I go back to it.
Again, check with your administrator to see
Yeah.
if your MOU's been signed. Because once it has, then you can start putting the logged time for your modules in.
So yeah, Jim, on the online modules, you just go ahead and click back on that. You'll be back on the course catalog and Canvas, and then you just click on mentor module and just enroll. So yeah, you have access to all this stuff. It's there, ready for you.
And again, this isn't you have to complete it all at once, right? It's in Canvas, so it saves your work and your progress. So you can always work on a little bit here and there on weekends in your pajamas, and then go back to it the following weekend if you need to.
I think Jim has a follow-up question. How do we get mentees? I have one teacher here at our school, but it sounded like we could have teacher from other schools.
So this depends on your structure. So we've got a lot, this would be a question maybe we'd have to address one-on-one with you and your administrator. So we've got some different types of LEAs here as part of CTE Teach. We've had county offices, we have ROPs, we have districts, and we also have some individual sites or charter schools at times. So that would really depend. But basically, anybody you mentor does need to be under the umbrella of whatever entity that we have signed the MOU with. So if we have signed with just say, I'm just gonna make up a name like JFK High School, then we can't help someone at Woodrow Wilson High School, right? But if you guys are all under LA Unified, then, and that was the structure of your district's induction program, then you could support more teachers than maybe that were just on your site. So we would have to address that on an individual LEA basis based on our MOU. But that would be question first for your administrator.
And then I have a question from Barbara. Can you show us where to find them? Am I assuming that's the Google Drive that I've been talking about? Is that correct, Barbara?
I'm sorry, I was looking for the CTE Teach Mentor module, and I think you already answered that for me.
Oh, okay, great,
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
No problem.
So MOUs do need to be signed by the decision maker in your organization. So anybody that enters into contracts for your organization, again, depending on what level your MOU agreement will be with us. So in most cases, it is a superintendent, or sometimes there might be like a business director or something that is also an authorized signee. So again, depending on, and you check with them, because a lot of times, so these MOUs went out, gosh, like week, 2 weeks ago. So they may have already been signed and are already prepared to be on your next board agenda. But we do need, minimally, we need your superintendent's signature. So if we have your superintendent's signature, you can start accruing hours, even if you did not get your board approval yet. So hopefully that helps some of you. Because hopefully your board's like our board and they love everything we do and they approve everything if the superintendent says okay. So we're looking for a superintendent signature. The board approval is up to your administrators at your site. So if you get a superintendent or director, whoever your boss is, then you can start accruing those hours. Hopefully that helps that question. All right, let's go back to the slide deck, James. I think I still got some more stuff on for the mentors. All right, so we already kind of skipped ahead and looked at the uploading activities and things. So what that means is in that folder, as I mentioned, when you complete your mentor modules, you will get a certificate. So we do ask you to download that and then upload that to your CTE Teach folder in Google once you have access to that. Other things you would upload to that, besides keeping your logs current, is whenever you do one of your great workshops for your mentees, and again, we do require a minimum of 3 a year, you would also put the slide decks or your handouts, resources and things in there as well. Part of what we do here is to kind of crowdsource great mentoring. So we want both proof that things are happening and also a way to share with others the work you're doing. Again, it's all about big, borrow, and steal, all in the effort to keep good CTE teachers in our classrooms. There may be an occasion throughout the year when we're having certain webinars and things that we may ask you to submit, examples of something that we talked about, like observation forms and things like that. But as far as like regular things that we're going to ask of you that we need every quarter, it would be the workshops and then keeping those logs up to date. Also, a couple times during the year, we will be sending out surveys to both administrators, mentors, and mentees to gauge program effectiveness and suggestions for improvements and other needs moving forward. We do ask that part of your tasks is to complete each semester observations on your mentees. These are non-evaluative. So you should not be the person that does the evaluation every year or every other year on this teacher, but these are, again, peer-to-peer constructive feedback, the mentorio sandwich, as I like to call it, where you're just providing the love and the support and what that teacher needs so that when it comes time for their administrator to come and do those observations, they are more prepared. So those we do need 2 by the end of the year. We know it's getting close with the holidays in a short year. So if you do miss some of yours for first semester, you could always kind of double up during that second semester. One of the questions I know we've gotten earlier this morning is, my gosh, I'm a classroom teacher already, or our site's so spread out because we have a really big district. How am I going to, and I've got 7 mentors or mentees, how am I supposed to get those observations done? So we ask you to get creative. In the past, this has been something that doesn't happen as much as we have asked and we like, but we know it's a very valuable tool. It's something that our own teachers here at CRY-ROP really value, is getting that non-evaluative and more regular feedback than just the once a year formal evaluation observation that they get from their site administrators. So we do ask you to get creative, right? If we didn't learn anything in distance learning, boy, did our creativity go through the roof, right? So think about how you can have a teacher record a lesson and send it to you. Or if an administrator is doing a visit, could they do a recording for you and provide you some context for what they saw in the classroom? Can you kind of team teach with somebody and help cover classrooms and things during prep periods to go visit teachers? Again, this is also a situation with the administrators in the room that we asked to kind of provide some in-kind services, right? So if you have to sub out a mentor once in a while so they can do some of these things, that's a great way to get them out into the classrooms, and not just maybe that classroom, but maybe they can help you do some observations and provide teacher feedback for even some veterans and stuff out there. So when you're on the campus, think about how you can leverage that with your mentors. Maybe they go and do observations and then host their workshop later that afternoon at a school site, things like that. But again, I know a lot of us actually did recorded lesson observations during the pandemic and provided feedback that way. So that's probably one of the easier routes to do. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a bell to bell, right? Have your teacher do a mini lesson, have them do, you want them to cover kind of all the components of a lesson plan, but maybe they can do that in like a 15 or 20 minute versus having to sit and watch an hour-long recording on somebody. So again, get creative and let us know your ideas, and we'll share some more of those in some upcoming webinars as well. The log that James briefly showed you, that's also your quarterly task. We do ask that you don't wait till the end of the quarter to complete that log. It's a great way to, you do something, log it. You do something, you log it, so you don't forget, and you don't forget to log something that you've done. And also because of the requirements of the grant, we do need to see that workshops were done and the one-on-ones and the observations and the mentor modules and all those things are completed. We do look at all of those factors when it comes time for accepting new districts in every single year. And I think that's it. Go ahead and switch to the next one. Administrator responsibilities. There's some similarities here. We do ask that when we do the site visits, either virtual or in person, that the administrator is present. We want to get everybody's input and agreements. We do also ask that you as administrators attend to the end of the year advisory. And then while webinar attendance is optional, it is greatly encouraged because, again, you get good ideas for future professional learning for all teachers by attending those webinars. It's also great if you notice all the great faces in the room, and if you look back through the chat and see where these folks are from, we've got people from all over the state here, and we've all got the same common goal of providing high quality CTE to our students throughout the state. So there's a lot of good networking that happens too as being part of CTE Teach. I know, think about going to Educating for Careers here coming up in the spring, or going to the fall CTE conference in the desert here. You're going to see some of these faces there, and now you'll have friends. So it's just a wonderful way to network and make some really good partnerships. So as far as administrator tasks, we do ask that you keep an eye on those mentor logs and have conversations about, hey, how's it going? What's your next workshop plans? Things like that. It's also a great way to, I'm going to call it double dip. And it's the only time I'm going to say double dipping is okay, is that if your mentors are doing a workshop, while they might be geared towards new teachers, gosh, why not let your other teachers join, right? Every teacher could use new tricks, in their toolbox. So use those workshops as great PD time for other staff too. Again, reviewing those mentor logs, submitting invoices. So this year we are only going to ask you to invoice us once, and that'll be at the end of the school year. So administrators, you will work with your fiscal people to invoice us for the logs that your mentor has accrued or your mentors have accrued throughout the year. So the way that works is that's where Megan's going to come in. So towards the end of the year, we're going to provide you what we call a program statement that'll have each mentor and their hours for each semester. We're going to ask that you review that and you sign off on it. And then you will not just give us a copy of that, but you will share it with your fiscal person, whoever's going to create the invoice, and they will then, your business person will send us the invoice for the hours that you have accrued this year, and then we cut the check directly to the LEA. So this goes to our little disclaimer on the bottom. So CTEACH funds should be to supplement programs, not to supplant them, and as much as possible, as close to 100% of the funds as possible should be paid directly to the mentors and shouldn't be used for anything else like equipment supplies, sub costs, keeping the lights on, paying insurance and things like that. So with that all being said, we also know that we have a lot of districts that have bargaining unit agreements that limit the pay for extra duty assignments, or you have to get down to the nickel and dime of, yes, the way the benefits work and things in your district. So we pay out at $50 per hour per mentor. We ask that as much of that money goes straight to the mentors as possible, and then the rest is up to you and your fiscal people, right? Just know that this is a state project and you get audited, we get audited, the state gets audited. So the money does need to be paid directly to the mentors, not for those other things. But if the mentors do not receive $35 an hour, or I'm sorry, $50 an hour exactly, because that is not your, again, bargain structure, that is up to you and your fiscal folks. Okay, and hopefully that answers some of the questions that we tend to get this time of year, especially with those of you in bargaining unit situations.
Melissa, I have a question from Sherry. Will logs be approved after each quarter? So if we want to pay our mentors as time goes on, we know you have reviewed it and approved.
Yes, absolutely. So wait for us to give you that thumbs up on that log before paying out, because we have noticed things like that happen. And this is going kind of back to the tasks that we looked at on the mentor responsibilities. Is CTE Teach is not about helping your boss do a Perkins report, right? Or strong workforce applications, or putting together advisories and things like that. That is not a mentor's role in what we fund. However, if your mentor is sitting helping a teacher do a lesson plan, or taking them out to network to find business partners to come to an advisory, right? Those are mentor tasks. But again, not the busy work. If it's something you were already going to have your person do as an employee of your organization or a teacher of your organization, that is not mentoring, right? Writing lesson plans for somebody, not mentoring, helping them write them, having a one-on-one, even if it's a Starbucks, that's good mentoring, right? But again, not doing all that extra stuff that we have to do in CTE to constantly sing for our supper and those dollars we need to run our good programs. But
And we
yes, look at that every quarter before and get our approval. And we'll figure out a way to kind of give you that thumbs up or put something on a log or something so you'll know that it's been approved by us before you send out a check if you decide to pay them out multiple times throughout the year.
We did have another one pop through really quickly from Barbara. Is admin costs separate from mentor pay?
So we do not pay administrators for this grant. Any administrator hours, which should be minimal, are considered kind of the cost of doing business or some in kind. So there are no separate administrative duties that we pay for out of this grant. We want to make sure that this is an investment in any of our participating LEAs, so the money goes straight through to those new teachers through mentoring. All right, I'm going to keep going and then stop me, Megan, if there's other questions. So again, you're going to see some dates that are slightly in conflict, and there's a reason for that. So as we get towards the end of the year, we all know how crazy that can be and how much pressure we start to get from our business offices. So we call the semester or the final quarter ending on June 15th because we know most schools are always out by June 15th. So we do ask that you kind of wrap things up by the 15th so that we can have the program statements reviewed by the logs reviewed, the program statements reviewed, those invoices created and delivered to us no later than June 30th, because we also not only have to wrap up with all of you folks, but we have to wrap up our business for the state. So that June 30th date is very, very important, that we do need to receive all logs, program statements, and invoices by June 30th to ensure payment, not just payment at some point, but payment completely, because again, books close out and the state will not give us money after that dead stop that we have to report to them just a few weeks later in July. So please keep that in mind as you wrap up your year. We know here at CRY-ROP, we like to work with our mentors after school gets out. So if that's something that you do and you need to stretch it a little bit till June 16th or 17th or something, because you're going to have your mentors come in and start planning for the next year, that is absolutely okay. Just give us a heads up. And then you might have to just work a little harder with your business folks and stuff to get logs reviewed and invoice submitted. But that June 30th date is super important to ensure you get paid for your LEA gets paid for the work that you do this year.
We do have a question coming in from, I believe it's Kristen. What is the date that the LEA can expect to receive funds?
So the check is in the mail, right? Isn't that, we're famous for saying that in our education business offices. So that's really the way it works. So it depends on when we get your final program statement and invoice. Once we get that, we do have to review and take that over to our business office, and they're wrapping up business just like yours are every year. But the checks again from us will be cut by mid-July and then received by you sometime by the end of July, early August. So again, those are some things that business folks usually have to go back and adjust, but we have to as LEAs, but the state will not. So that's why we've got that weird date. Otherwise, we would have to close out any work that you guys do probably by the 1st of May, and we don't want to have to do that. But business people can work magic, it's just the state will not for us. So that's why we put that June 30th date on there. But usually turnaround time on checks is usually 2 to 4 weeks once we receive your invoice. All right, I think that's it for me, David. Back over to you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. James is going to take me to the next slide here, and I'm going to briefly show you what we've got planned for webinar dates. You don't have to scratch them down. If you want to take a picture, you're welcome to do so, but we will email you this presentation before the end of the week. Generally, they are they're Tuesdays. Toward the beginning of the month, and we did one this morning at 9 a.m. and we're doing the 4 p.m. We do get more people at the 4 p.m. but not by a lot, so we will plan to continue to offer the 2 webinars every time. If there are things you'd like to offer up, we will absolutely take a look at opportunities for webinar presenters. So let me know if your site is interested in presenting or presenting for a chunk of time or on an issue. And then, as Melissa said, we'll begin to reach out in November to schedule a time to visit your site, either in person or virtually. Next slide, James. Something also coming down the pipeline you'll be hearing about shortly is we are trying to also start an industry mentor program throughout the state. We are working with the credentialing organizations to find out what are the most needed, where do we have the big population of new teachers coming in. CTE Teach mentors cannot double dip here and cannot also be an industry mentor. But if you know of people, they can sign up on an interest list on the CTE Teach website. We will send a flyer along as well too, and we'll have more information coming on that shortly, but that's something we'll be trying to build up for this year. And then James will take us through the next couple of slides quickly here, and we'll wrap up. Oh, no, sorry about that. Oh, we've talked about MOUs. James will take a couple here and we'll wrap up.
Okay, so we are on social media, and we are located on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we are at CTE Teach CA. You can find us there. We also have a YouTube page with a lot of our old podcasts, presentations with guest speakers, really great resources. So if you want to check out all that good stuff that's on our YouTube page. We also have podcasts on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and also on Spotify. You can find us on all that. A lot of great information and resources. Spread the word, share the love with everyone, especially with new teachers and admin, just kind of looking for ideas, and really interesting topics as well. Again, our website is cteteach.com, and you can also find all the social media sections and YouTube and the podcasts on that section in under media on that page. Some of the things that we do, I've been doing what our old presenter used to do back in the day, Mr. Chris McClung, and he used to do Mentor Mondays, and this is something that I want to continue doing. So this is one of our Mentor Monday quotes from Herbie Hancock. If you're a music person like I am, you've heard of Herbie Hancock before, great jazz pianist, musician. So his quote is, "I've learned a lot from mentors who were instrumental in shaping me, and I want to share what I've learned." So that's what it's all about, just sharing our knowledge with our new teachers. And by the way, our new teachers can also teach us a thing or two, believe it or not. So that's a great thing. David, back to you.
Thank you, James. Just open it up to questions. I know, Jim, you just said, could we switch as an industry mentor? The industry mentor positions will be we'll have interviews, small presentations, so I wouldn't switch yet. If there is interest, let us know.
Yes, so there's possibilities for that, but it is a competitive process. So there will be.
That's the word, Melissa. Thank you.
We can get it together. At the end of the day, we all need to support each other. So we will be doing interviews, and there will be some performance aspect of that interview, meaning you're going to have to do some sort of little mini presentation workshop for us during those. We are this year, we're piloting it this year. So we need people that are creative and willing to help kind of build the ship as we sail it in these new industry mentor waters. And also helping us like find those new teachers out there that need the support. As David mentioned, we do want to fill positions where there's need. So if you're a fashion interior design mentor, there's a chance there's probably not a whole lot of need for that statewide. I would also suggest that because your LEA has already agreed to be part of this project, that if you think there's even a chance you might want to do that, I would have the conversation with your administrator so that they could find someone, or you could help them find someone to fill your shoes, because we want to make sure that anyone we've accepted into this project this year can use the hours that we're allotting for you. So that your because the priority should be the teachers within your own LEA, right? Because the industry sector mentors is going to be kind of a statewide project. So first we want to make sure we're supporting you guys as our districts for this year.
And then Sherry asked, how would a school apply to access one of those mentors? We will get you the information as those people get in place.
Yeah, we're going to rely on you guys for a lot of that support too, like share, help us find the
Yeah.
people. So we're working with the credentialing LEAs. We know that you all have new teachers too. So we're going to kind of help build that capacity together. And then those folks will also participate in some of the webinars and trainings and things that we do with you as well. For any of you, just a quick little commercial for any of you going to the CTE Fall Conference we're out in the IE. So in coming out to Palm Desert later this month, we will be doing a presentation at the Fall CTE Conference. So come on over and see us for that. We'd love to meet you face to face and have any chats or do lunch while we're there. That would be awesome.
And then Sherry, you said cost to the school, and I'm thinking you're asking for the industry mentor. And that's
zero.
Yeah, that's to build relationships.
Yeah, so all of this will happen outside of the school day. So evenings, weekends, holidays, and things. So the an industry sector mentor, those up to 12 will be independent contractors of Colton-Redlands-Yucaipa ROP. So all of the hours and stuff they log will not conflict with their day jobs with the districts.
Kevin, you asked, once MOU is approved, we will be sent our log sheet via email. James will actually be loading those into the Google, there went those words, the Google site for you already this week.
Yes, as long as I have everyone's Gmail or Google account info, I will be sending all that information. So this way only you will have access to that folder, or you and your admin and your mentees or mentors.
And you got that information from us on the chat. Is that how you gather that?
I believe when you registered, one of the questions was if you had a Gmail address to put it in. I think it was the question. It was that one and the question about what time you also wanted to join. Yeah. So
okay.
if you have that in there, then I should already have it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you.
And by the way, those of you who joined us a little bit later, if you haven't already, please put your name, your school district, and your email in the chat, so this way we can keep track and we can go ahead and put, especially if you have your Gmail account and you haven't put it in the registration form, you can put it in the chat, and I can also use that to send everybody access to their folder as well.
I had another question real quick. What's customary? Is it like logging hours quarterly and sending in, or logging hours at the end of it all and sending in, or does it really matter?
Yeah, so because it's a Google Doc, we recommend logging the hours as you go, and there will be a log for each quarter. So this first quarter is only going to be a 2-month quarter. So as you start to get closer to the winter break, we ask that obviously, and your mentors are more than welcome if they need to do any connections during the holiday break with teachers and they want to get together and meet for coffee or cocoa or something at Starbucks or a local coffee shop. They could do that, and they can log hours over the holidays. But because the first quarter will end December 31st, the first log that you'll do, any hours need to be logged and completed by December 31st. We do suggest you try to, keep your time even. So, we suggest not doing like 10 hours the first quarter and then trying to get 140 hours logged per mentor in quarters 3 and 4. But we do, do suggest starting with some consistency in the time you're spending with your mentors, and not trying to do all observations and workshops all in one quarter and things. But we do need at the end of those quarters, so between December 31st and January 30th, we do ask that those logs are completed. Administrator looks at them. There's that submission date on the log that you then put the date because when we see the date on there, for us, that means my log is done. Now you can look at it, and then that gives us some time to give you any feedback before, as somebody else asked about, if you want to pay your teachers out your mentors out throughout the year for this, which I know a lot of them do. It's like a nice little bonus that they're not waiting until, the July 1st paycheck to get their mentor hours in for the year. You would want to make sure that we've looked at that log before you issue a paycheck. So it's definitely good to keep track. We all know we think we're going to remember things that we don't. So having your mentors log their time as they go is much better than trying to do it all at once.
Thank you.
That wraps it up for us. If you need to go, that's fine. If you need to stick around with questions, that's fine as well too. But thanks for being here today. I know I'm sure it's been a long day for a lot of you, and we just appreciate that you're going to be with us for the journey. Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Hope to see you soon.